It burned on water. Sailors who jumped overboard to escape it found that it followed them. It could not be extinguished with sand. It could not be smothered. Witnesses described it as liquid fire that clung to everything it touched and burned until there was nothing left to burn. For 300 years, Greek fire was the most feared weapon on Earth. It saved the Byzantine Empire from destruction at least twice. Entire enemy fleets were reduced to ash by it. And then, sometime around 1000 AD, the formula was lost, completely, permanently. No record survived, no ingredient list, no method. One of the most powerful weapons ever created simply ceased to exist because the people who knew how to make it died and told no one. Greek fire is one of 5 ancient technologies that the modern world has spent centuries trying to recover and still hasn't fully cracked. Every technology on this list was real, tested, documented, confirmed by modern science to be superior to anything we could produce for centuries afterward. And every single one of them was lost. Not gradually, not partially, but completely. The knowledge died with the people who held it. What you are about to see is not speculation. These are 5 cases where history made something extraordinary and then forgot how. In 672 AD, the Arab Umayyad Caliphate launched a naval assault on Constantinople, the capital of the Byzantine Empire and one of the most heavily fortified cities in the world. The Arab fleet was enormous. The outcome seemed inevitable. The Byzantines deployed a weapon that had never been used in open naval warfare before. Contemporary accounts describe bronze tubes mounted on the prows of Byzantine ships that projected a burning liquid onto the surface of the water and onto the hulls of enemy vessels. The liquid ignited on contact with water. It could not be extinguished. The Arab fleet was destroyed. The weapon was called Greek fire, though the Byzantines themselves called it liquid fire or sea fire. It was credited to a Syrian engineer named Callinicos of Heliopolis, who brought the formula to Constantinople in approximately 672 AD. It became the most closely guarded state secret in Byzantine history. The formula was known only to the imperial family and a small number of trusted craftsmen. It was never written down in a form that survived. Greek fire saved Constantinople again in 717 AD when another Arab fleet attempted the same assault. Arab accounts from the period describe ships being engulfed so rapidly that sailors had no time to abandon their vessels. The fire spread across the surface of the water between ships. Throwing water on it made it burn more intensely. The only partially effective countermeasure discovered by enemies was sand or vinegar, and even these only slowed it. Modern chemists and historians have spent considerable effort attempting to reconstruct the formula. The leading theories suggest it contained quicklime, which reacts with water to produce intense heat, combined with naphtha, or petroleum products and possibly pine resin. Some researchers believe it may have contained calcium phosphide, which ignites spontaneously on contact with water. No reconstruction has produced all of the properties described in Byzantine and Arab accounts simultaneously. The exact formula has never been confirmed. Around 1000 AD, the last craftsman who understood the complete production process died. The Byzantine Empire, weakened by centuries of war, had already lost the institutional knowledge that protected the secret. When Constantinople finally fell to the Ottoman Empire in 1453, the conquerors found no record of how Greek fire was made. The most feared weapon of the medieval world had simply ceased to exist, taking its formula with it into silence. For nearly 2,000 years, the finest sword blades in the known world came from a single production tradition. European crusaders who encountered them in battle described blades that could split a silk scarf dropped through the air, slice through the barrel of a rifle, and hold an edge through combat that would have destroyed any European blade of the same period. They called the metal Damascus Steel, and they could not reproduce it. Damascus Steel was produced from a raw material called woots, small ingots of steel manufactured in southern India and Sri Lanka, shipped to smiths in the Middle East, who knew the specific techniques to work it into blades. The woots ingots had an unusually high carbon content, around 1 to 2%, which gave the final steel its unique properties. but the carbon content alone does not explain what Damascus steel could do. In 2006, a team of German researchers at the University of Dresden examined a genuine Damascus blade under an electron microscope and found something that stopped them cold. The blade contained carbon nanotubes, cylindrical structures of carbon at the nanoscale level, woven through the metal matrix. Carbon nanotubes were not synthesized in a laboratory until 1991. The Damascus smiths were producing them in the 15th century as a byproduct of their forging process, without knowing what they were creating or why it worked. The nanotubes, combined with carbide nanowires also found in the blade structure, gave Damascus steel a combination of properties that modern metallurgy has struggled to match in a single material: extreme hardness, extreme sharpness, and flexibility that prevented the blade from shattering under impact. These properties normally contradict each other in steel production. Damascus steel had all three. Around 1750 AD, production of Damascus steel ended permanently. The cause is debated. The Wootz trade routes from India may have been disrupted, the specific ore deposits may have been exhausted, or the last smiths who understood the critical temperature and timing details of the forging process may simply have died without passing the knowledge on. The production chain that had run for nearly 2,000 years broke and could not be restarted. Modern attempts to recreate Damascus steel have produced blades with the surface pattern, but not the full mechanical properties of the originals. The complete method has not been recovered. The Roman harbor at Caesarea Maritima was built approximately 2,000 years ago. It was constructed by pouring concrete directly into the sea, an engineering approach that modern harbor builders would consider extremely risky because seawater destroys modern concrete within decades. The Roman harbor is still standing. It is stronger now than when it was built. Roman concrete, called opus caementicium, was mixed differently from modern concrete. Instead of Portland cement, the Romans used volcanic ash called pozzolana, combined with seawater and lime. Modern engineers assumed for centuries that this was simply a cruder version of modern concrete, inferior but functional. The Roman structures that survived suggested otherwise, but no one understood why until 2017. In 2017, a team of researchers from the University of California, Berkeley, analyzed samples of Roman harbor concrete and discovered what was happening inside the material. When seawater permeated the Roman concrete, which it was designed to do, it reacted with the volcanic ash to form a rare mineral called tobermarite. Tobermarite crystals grew within the concrete matrix, reinforcing it from within, filling microscopic cracks before they could propagate, and becoming stronger with each passing decade of seawater exposure. Modern concrete does the opposite. It is sealed against water intrusion, and when water eventually penetrates, as it always does, it corrodes the steel reinforcement inside, and the structure degrades. Roman concrete had no steel reinforcement. It needed none. The seawater was doing the work of reinforcing it continuously for 2,000 years. The Romans understood this empirically. They knew the volcanic ash worked. They knew seawater was required, and they built accordingly. What they did not know was the chemistry. The formula for Roman concrete was never formally recorded in a way that survived the fall of the empire. Medieval and Renaissance builders lost the knowledge entirely and defaulted to less durable materials for over 1,000 years. The Berkeley research in 2017 was the first time in modern history that the mechanism was fully understood, and efforts to produce a modern equivalent are still ongoing. Between 1666 and 1737, an Italian craftsman named Antonio Stradivari built approximately 1,100 violins, violas, and cellos in his workshop in Cremona, Italy. Around 650 survive. Every serious acoustic study conducted over the past century has arrived at the same conclusion. They produce a sound quality that no instrument made since, by anyone, using any method, has been able to fully replicate. The most expensive Stradivarius ever sold, the Lady Blunt violin of 1721, sold at auction in 2011 for $15.9 million. The instruments are not valuable because they are old. They are valuable because they are better. Professional soloists who have played both Stradivarius instruments and the finest modern violins consistently describe the Stradivarius as producing a tone with more carrying power, more complexity, and a quality they call projection, the ability to fill a concert hall with sound in a way that other instruments cannot match. The question of why has occupied researchers for centuries. Several theories have accumulated significant evidence. The wood Stradivari used, primarily spruce for the top and maple for the back, came from trees grown during the Little Ice Age, a period of reduced solar activity between approximately 1645 and 1715 that produced slower tree growth, denser wood rings, and a wood density and stiffness that has not been consistently available since. This theory has strong support. The specific acoustic properties of the wood are measurably different from modern tone woods. A second theory involves the chemical treatment of the wood. In 2009, researchers analyzing wood samples from Stradivarius instruments found evidence that the wood had been treated with minerals, including potassium silicate, sodium, and potassium borate, and other compounds, either deliberately or as a result of a wood preservation process common in Cremona at the time. These minerals alter the cellular structure of the wood in ways that affect its acoustic resonance. No modern luthier has successfully replicated the treatment. A third theory focuses on the varnish. Stradivari's varnish formula has never been identified. Analysis has found components, including proteins, resins, and minerals in combinations that don't match any known historical recipe. The varnish may play a role in how the wood vibrates, either by damping certain frequencies or by allowing the wood to continue changing acoustically over decades of playing. The most likely answer is that all three factors, the Little Ice Age wood, the mineral treatment, and the unknown varnish, combined with Stradivari's personal craftsmanship in ways that have never been simultaneously replicated. Antonio Stradivari died in 1737 at the age of approximately 93. He left no written formula. No apprentice who trained under him ever produced an instrument that matched his work. The best violins ever made were made by one man in one town during one 70-year window, and the precise reason why has been studied for nearly 300 years without a complete answer. In 1989, a metallurgist named Alan Williams began systematically testing Viking Age swords held in museum collections across Europe. He was looking for patterns in the metal composition. What he found in approximately 170 swords, all sharing the same inlaid inscription on the blade, stopped him completely. The inscription read, plus V L F B E R H T plus. The Ulfberht swords, named for whoever or whatever Ulfberht referred to, were made from a type of steel that should not have existed in Viking Age Scandinavia. The carbon content of the steel was 3 times higher than any other sword of the period. The slag content, impurities left in the metal from the smelting process, was nearly zero. The metal was, by any modern standard, crucible steel of exceptional purity. The problem is this: the technology required to produce crucible steel of this purity, a process that involves melting the steel completely at extremely high temperatures to allow impurities to rise and be removed, was not developed in Europe until the Industrial Revolution of the 19th century. The closest equivalent technology available in the Viking Age existed in Central Asia and Persia, where the Wutz steel used for Damascus blades was produced using similar principles. This raises a question that researchers have not fully resolved. How did Viking swordsmiths in Scandinavia between 800 and 1000 AD obtain steel of a purity that European metallurgy could not produce for another 800 years? The leading theory involves the Viking trade routes. Viking traders operated along the Volga River trade route deep into Central Asia, the same region where crucible steel production was understood. It is possible that the Ulfberht smiths were importing raw steel ingots from Central Asia and had learned enough of the working process to produce blades of extraordinary quality. What makes the Ulfberht mystery sharper is what happened after 1000 AD. The trade routes disrupted. The Volga trade network collapsed as political conditions changed across Central Asia, and the Ulfberht swords stopped. The last confirmed examples date to around 1000 AD, exactly when the trade routes closed. After that, Viking swords returned to the lower quality steel of their contemporaries. The technology didn't evolve away. It was cut off, and it took European metallurgy 8 centuries to independently arrive at the same point. 5 technologies, each one confirmed real, each one confirmed superior, each one lost. Greek fire, the liquid weapon that burned on water, its formula carried to the grave by the last craftsman who knew it. Damascus steel, 2,000 years of blade-making perfection, ended when a trade route broke and knowledge died with the last smiths. Roman concrete, a building material that grows stronger in seawater for 2,000 years. Its chemistry lost for over a millennium and only understood in 2017. The Stradivarius violin, instruments of wood and gut that 3 centuries of the finest luthiers on earth have studied, analyzed, and failed to match. And the Ulfberht sword, Viking blades of a steel purity that European metallurgy would not achieve again for 800 years, produced using knowledge that arrived on a trade route and vanished when that route closed. In each case, the loss was not inevitable. It was the result of broken supply chains, dying craftsmen, fallen empires, and the human tendency to assume that knowledge, once gained, is permanent. It is not. It never has been. The ancient world knew things we are still trying to remember. Next, 6 ancient artifacts with no explanation. Objects that were found where they shouldn't exist, made from materials that shouldn't have been available, or depicting things that the people who made them shouldn't have known. That video is linked above. We will see you there.